So in today's video, I'm going to be explaining a theory I've been sitting on for a while now, and it has to do with One For All and the ability to steal quirks that I believe Deku will potentially unlock in the future. So get ready guys, as this is going to be a very long video. So before I truly begin, let me just break down what I'm actually going to be talking about in this video, as this whole theory is made up of multiple theories as they all tie up together. In this video, I'll go over how and why Deku will end up receiving the ability to steal quirks later on in this series. The predecessors of One For All and why two of them, the third and second users, are blacked out whenever we see them in Deku's mind, and also who I think could potentially be the user of One For All who's blacked out and has a purple aura, as I believe they might have already been revealed to us in the show. And trust me, no one ever talks about this person, and they were literally only revealed to us once in the entire series so far. And I won't even lie, this last part, besides from minor details like appearance, it would actually line up perfectly with the other parts of the theory, so make sure you stick around till the end. And very quickly, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's begin. So since the very beginning of My Hero Academia, we have been told about the power of One For All and how the destiny of One For All was to defeat the great evil, which is All For One. Now with the origin of One For All, the quirk came to be when All For One had forced the stockpiling quirk onto his thought to be quirkless brother. And the stockpiling quirk then merged with his younger brother's power to transfer, creating One For All. This whole battle between One For All and All For One truly started once All For One gave his brother a quirk. So I thought it would make sense that when the series ends, when Deku ends up defeating All For One, whether that being the actual All For One or Shigaraki who becomes the new All For One, that he would defeat them by stealing their quirks. So everything began with the giving of a quirk, and it ends with the taking of a quirk. And at this point, some people are probably like, but there's no real evidence to say that this will happen, it's only my opinion. And while that is true, I do honestly believe that this is the way that Horikoshi is setting everything up to end, and here's why. Okay, my first reason as to why Deku will receive the ability to steal quirks is this. Throughout this series, One For All has been growing, and has long since reached the point of singularity as stated by the first user of One For All in chapter 193. And for those who don't know what the point of singularity is, it's essentially a theory that quirks over time will continue to merge together and expand, making them uncontrollable. One For All is a perfect example of this, as Deku's body still can't handle the quirk as it's way too powerful for him. But back to what I was saying. One For All has been growing, and now Deku as the 9th user is going to be able to access all the previous quirks of the past users in the future. We've already seen Black Rip manifest during the joint training arc, and we know that the next quirk he will access is Nana Shimura's Flow. So over time you begin to notice that One For All is becoming like All For One, and I don't want to make it sound like some off-brand version of All For One, but it's reaching the same status as All For One bit by bit. The quirk All For One allows the user to possess multiple quirks, give people quirks, and take them away. At the beginning, One For All was just a stockpiling quirk and the ability to pass that on. And now with Deku's generation, One For All consists of multiple quirks he has access to, just like All For One. And it hasn't been ever stated or hinted that he would be limited to the quirks that are in the core One For All. So if he were to ever take All For One, right now it's too early to say he wouldn't have space, like Heroes Rising spoiler coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like 9 when he tried taking One For All, but couldn't due to the multiple quirks residing inside, and the fact that he didn't have enough space. Also, with the conversation Deku, Bakugo and All Might had during chapter 217, when discussing the dream Deku had and the new quirk's appearance, Bakugo straight up said that because All For One is the one who created the quirk, One For All is basically an offshoot of his power. And he supported this claim by saying Deku now has multiple quirks, so it kinda makes sense that One For All is going in the direction of being exactly like All For One in the future. And with the meeting's end, we get a panel of Deku looking very dark, saying All For One's power, almost as if to foreshadow this actually coming true. So I do believe Deku will receive the power to steal quirks later on, but will it be through some external fighter with All For One, or will it be through one of the predecessors' quirks? It's too early to say. And now that I've explained how he might potentially receive this ability to steal quirks, let me go into a bit more detail about why I genuinely think this is going to happen. So earlier on I did say that this whole battle started with the giving of a quirk, and that I think it would make sense to end it with the taking of the quirk All For One. But the context behind this whole claim of mine is because I truly believe that this will be the only option available to win in the endgame of My Hero Academia. Personally, I'm a firm believer that the final battle of the series will be Shigaraki versus Deku. And right now Shigaraki is undergoing an operation to receive power from the Doctor, which was originally meant for All For One. After the battle in Deka City, Shigaraki became extremely overpowered, his decay quirk reverted back to its original state, or I guess you could say awakened, and the destruction he's capable of now is no joke, as during the battle with Redestro, he reduced the entire city to ruins. So Shigaraki is already a major threat with his decay quirk, and now with the help of the Doctor he's undergoing surgery to gain even more power, and essentially become the new All For One. And the doctor even stated to Shigaraki that after the process, he would have everything in his grasp, including One For All. With all the powerful quirks that the Doctor can give to Shigaraki and Shigaraki's decay, it's likely that after the final battle, when Deku defeats him, there won't be many available options to truly put an end to All For One. First things first, killing Shigaraki isn't an option because heroes never kill no matter how bad the situation is. This is something that has been highlighted many times in the series. Secondly, locking up Shigaraki in a place like Tartarus won't work because with his decay quirk and the power he will receive after the surgery, there will truly be no way to contain him. So after Deku defeats Shigaraki, he wouldn't be able to kill him and he can't be locked up, so the only way to make sure that All For One would truly end would be to take the quirk. And this is a very similar situation to Avatar: The Last Airbender. My Hero Academia has quite a few references to Avatar, but I can see the endgame situation being the exact same. Deku would steal Shigaraki's All For One the same way that Aang took away Ozai's firebending, as killing wasn't an option due to his air nomad beliefs, and the fact that it would have been too dangerous to allow him to keep his power. But these are the reasons why I believe that Deku will gain the ability to steal quirks later on down the line. Now on to my next point about the second and third users of One For All and why they are being blacked out whenever Deku sees the previous users. So here is the first reason, which is just the most obvious. Deku just hasn't reached a certain stage with One For All to where he can see them and have access to their quirks yet. This was kind of hinted by the first user in chapter 193 when he said he wanted to show Deku more of the past events, but he was only at 20%. And with the discussion All Might, Deku and Bakugo had later on, the fact that there were no leads on the quirks of the second and third users kind of supports this, because Bakugo said that all the other users beside the second and third had weak quirks, and he couldn't say anything about the second and third because obviously there's no info on them. So imagine if the reason that Deku could see all the predecessors he saw in his dream was due to the fact that the stage he was at with One For All, being 20%, was enough for him to get access to their quirks because they had somewhat weak quirks. But the second and third users would require a much higher percentage of One For All for their quirks to be used by Deku. So naturally, once Deku reaches that percentage to be able to use their powerful quirks, they will become visible inside One For All. And this can kind of be supported by the event that happened in the sports festival when Deku saw the past users in his fight against Shinzo. None of them had a proper form because Deku literally had no control of the quirk, it was simply 100% or nothing. But now that he's making progress, he's able to see people whose quirk's power is within the boundary of One For All he's unlocked. And if anyone's asking about why All Might is in an ethereal type form, that's probably just because he hasn't died yet and hasn't truly passed into One For All. Or it could just be because he's the only one of the past users who are quirkless. And my second theory to why the second and third users couldn't be seen is because they are kinda like the dark side of One For All and don't have the same righteous will as the other users and Midoriya, meaning they were likely villains. Which could very well be true because looking back on the situation the first user was in with All For One, who else would he have passed it on to? I mean, from what we've seen of his past so far, he was only surrounded by All For One and villains, so that's definitely something to take into account. And finally, here's just my thoughts on who I think the third user could be. And I'm referring to this silhouette you see on the screen, because in future this could turn out to be the second, I don't know, but I'm talking about this guy on the screen in general. So for this first point, I can't take credit as I saw this point flying around, but the third user's silhouette looks very similar to All For One's bodyguard, and at this point I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up being the case. But this next person I'm actually going to talk about would make a lot of sense to be the third user. I mean, the only negatives I have on this view is just that the silhouettes don't fully match up, like the gears and the mask, but we've only seen this person once in the entire series, so you know, never say never. Although I admit it is a bit of a reach, but this person ties in perfectly with my entire theory, and that is Harima Oji. Harima Oji was first revealed to us during the cultural festival by Gentle when he was talking about the most infamous villains of the past, and his name was mentioned with the likes of All For One and Destro. In this story at this point we had seen a bit about All For One, and shortly after we got the whole story about Destro, which led into Free Destro and the whole Meta Liberation / My Villain Academia arc. So following the route the show's been taking, I guess sometime in the near future we will learn more about Harima Oji. Now just off his title, the Peerless Thief, I'm sure that Harima had a quirk to do with stealing, likely the ability to steal quirks, just like All For One. See where I'm going with this? And Peerless literally means unequaled or unrivaled, so for him to have the title of the Peerless Thief clearly means he was the King of Thieves, or I guess Prince of Thieves if you count the play on his name being Oji. But basically what I'm trying to say is that he was a master thief, and I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that he also had the ability to steal quirks. So imagine if somehow he was the third user of One For All because he was able to steal it due to his quirk. It has been foreshadowed recently to Shigaraki by the Doctor that after the surgery he will have everything in his grasp, even One For All. So the quirk being able to be stolen, especially at that early stage, wouldn't be a stretch to say. Especially if it's being hinted to us now that that's what Shigaraki will do in the future. Because at the time of Harima stealing it, assuming he's the third user, there would have only been 2 users before him, and the point of singularity wouldn't have been passed. And if it was stolen by Harima, it would also make sense that there would be no numerical player in his name like all the 1-for-all users have, because he stole the power. And with the whole 1-for-all can't be forcibly taken argument, I mean, it's clear that it can, or will be, under the right circumstances. The whole issue back in Season 2 with Stain, when All Might told Deku the quirk can't be stolen, he meant that no one can force Deku to give up the quirk. And with 9 in the Heroes Rising movie, the only reason he wasn't able to steal the quirk was due to the fact he commented that there was multiple powers inside and he didn't have enough slots. And now obviously Shigaraki has been told he will be able to get 1-for-all in the future. It's clear that the quirk can be stolen, but certain circumstances must be met first. And also, someone might say that why could Harima steal it but not All-for-One? I mean, All-for-One may be limited in the sense that he can take and give away quirks, but you can't do that for quirks he's already given to someone or taken it away from. So an example is because All-for-One gave the quirk to his brother, he can't take it back from him. Or if he took a quirk away from someone, he can't ever give that same quirk back, which by at this point in the manga hasn't been disproven yet. And at the point where Harima would have stolen it, the quirk wouldn't have been as merged and complex as today, assuming he was the third holder. There would have only been 2 people before him, and it wouldn't be like Deku who has 8 people and the multiple quirks / will living inside the court. So if Deku doesn't end up getting the ability to steal quirks through an external factor with All-for-One, it would make sense for him to get it from the past user Harima OG, the Peerless Thief. Anyway, this last part of the video was just a theory which I thought would be pretty cool, so take it with a pinch of salt, although there is nothing preventing this from happening. And if Harima OG does somehow end up being one of the previous users, remember who said it first. But that's it for the video, guys. This is like my first proper My Hero Academia theory, and if you did enjoy it, please do subscribe to the channel and turn notifications so you don't miss another My Hero Academia video. And I'd love to see you guys' thoughts on this whole massive theory in the comments. And finally, please make sure to check out these other videos on the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.